Climate is an average weather condition at a specific place over a long period of time, that is 30,000, 35 years and more, including absolute extremes of temperature, precipitation, etc. Factors such as latitude, altitude, prevailing winds, ocean currents, maritime and continental situations exercise direct influence in determining the climate. The classification of climates of the world is done in order to understand how the different climatic elements form combination in different parts of the world. Although there are several ways in which the climates of the world can be classified, this lesson is devoted to discuss the Koppen's classification of the world climates, which is most widely used. In this lesson, we will study the measurements, design and combinations of major, main and subgroups of the world climates as developed by Koppen. After going through this lesson, you will be able to understand the classification of climate by Koppen, the basis of classification, the world distribution on this type of classification, its criticisms. Waldemar Koppen, a Russian-born German climatologist and botanist, attempted the classification of the world climates. Climate classification was first published as Thermal Zones of Earth in 1884 in Russian language. Scholars E. Volkin and S. Braunmann translated the work in German. With several modifications, Koppen improved his classification later on in 1918 and 1936. The details of climatic classification were published in Handbuch der Klimatologie. Later on, German climatologist Rudolf Giger collaborated with Koppen on changes to the scheme of the classification. Thus, the classification of the world climates is also known as Koppen-Giger climate classification, as the two scholars co-authored the work and was widely adopted. Classification is based on the empirical study of the distribution of vegetation across the world. Koppen assumed that vegetation is the most representative feature of the precipitation and temperature. For example, tropical evergreen vegetation represents high precipitation and high temperature. Similarly, alpine vegetation represents high precipitation and low to very low temperature. It is commonly found both in higher latitudes as well as in lower latitudes close to snow line. Deciduous vegetation represents high temperature and moderate precipitation in one season, followed by dry season with moderate to low temperature. And climates are marked with moisture deficiencies. While hot deserts have high temperatures and low precipitation, cold deserts have low temperature and low precipitation. The arid climates have xerophyte vegetation. Vegetation, as an index of temperature and precipitation, is also used to represent major ecosystems and biomes on the earth. It is to be noted that annual average temperature is to be plotted in a manner that it begins with high values of temperature about 30 degrees Celsius and ending with very low temperatures up to less than 10 degrees Celsius. Whereas annual average precipitation is plotted along the y-axis and it keeps on increasing in a manner that it begins with 0 and ends up with more than 400 centimeters. For the delineation of the climatic regions, Koppen considered the following: mean monthly temperature, mean annual temperature, mean monthly precipitation, mean annual precipitation. Therefore, Koppen's classification is based on the measurement of temperature and precipitation. Viewing its utility and applicability, FAO published a global climate map using the Koppen classification in 1999. Koppen's scheme of climatic classification begins with English capital alphabet denoting prevalent vegetation type. It is followed by small English alphabets in second and third place, with exception to B and E group of climates. In B and E groups, both letters, first and the second letters, are in capital alphabets. A brief discussion on the capital and the small letters used in the design of the classifications is made below. Capital letters. In all, Koppen has used 10 capital alphabets in a scheme of climate classification. An expression of the first 5 capital letters that denote vegetation zones is given below. A indicates the megathermal zone, B the xerophytes, C mesothermal, D microthermal, E hecastothermal. Next 5 capital alphabets denote distinct regional characteristics. They are as follows. F denotes the permanently frozen, M denotes the marine, S denotes the semi-arid or steppe, T denotes the tundra, and W the waste desert. Small letters. Similar to capital alphabets, Koppen has also used 10 small alphabets or letters to denote area-specific characteristics that supplement the major climate group. The first 6 small letters slightly signify seasonal characteristics of the precipitation. They are as follows. Faucient, precipitation around the year, which is denoted by the letter F. Hot is denoted by H. Cold is denoted by K. Monsoon is denoted by small m. Summer dry by small s. Winter dry by small w. The level of heat. The next 4 small letters denote the level of heat. Warmest month with summer temperature of greater than 22 degrees Celsius is A. Warmest month, summer temperature with less than 22 degrees Celsius is B. Temperature constantly higher than 10 degrees Celsius is denoted by C. Average temperature of the coldest month is less than minus 38 degrees Celsius, which is denoted by D. Besides arrangements of alphabets, Koppen has also used the following terms to denote potent, which is equal to potential evapotranspiration, and precip, which means precipitation. Thus, the climatic classification of Koppen is a self-explanatory. It is convenient to place values as per the order of the alphabets. The spatial pattern of climate can be studied based on the sun's angle of incidence on the earth. On both sides of the equator up to the tropics, a group of climates prevail. From the equator up to 100 in both the hemispheres, subgroup of climate A small f climate is found. It is closely followed by A small m subgroup along the coastal margins. The two subgroups A small w and A small s extend up to tropics, while A small w subgroup is quite common, as subgroup AS is rare. Arid or B group of hot climates are found along the western margins of the continents. However, along eastern sides of the continents in low latitudes up to 30 mesothermal or degree Celsius group of climates are found. These climates are also found along the western sides of the continents around the coastal margins. D group of climates are found in the temperate zones, interior parts of the continents and eastern margins of the continents. E group of climates are usually found in higher latitudes or in higher altitudes. Along Arctic and subarctic regions, such climates are common. Maritime influences play a decisive and a balancing role in determining a climate and biological situations. Similarly, prevailing winds easterly add to the humidity proportions along the eastern margins, while the westerly winds add to the humidity in the western margins of the continents. A brief account of the characteristics of the major climates is given below for the appreciation of the Koppen's classification of the world climates. A. Tropical climates. These climates are commonly found in the tropical belt of both the hemispheres. It is characterized by consistently warm with all the months averaging above 18 degrees Celsius temperature. There is no winter season in this climate. Although precipitation is high and exceeds potent, that is a potential evapotranspiration, there are 3 subdivisions of tropical climate. A small f, which is the tropical rainforest climate. The climate is characterized by rainfall throughout the year with average precipitation of at least 60 millimeters in every month. Because of the hot and wet conditions throughout the year, tropical rainforests occur in this part of the earth. Towns such as Kisangani in Congo, Singapore and Hawaii in the United States are the typical examples of climate. A, small m, tropical monsoon climate. This type of climate is characterized by short dry season registering less than 60 millimeters precipitation in the driest month. Rainfall occurs excessively during the summer rainy season, making land surface moist throughout the year. Consequently, it supports the growth of dense forests which shed their leaves in the dry season. It is a typical example of the monsoon climate. Abidjan, that is the Ivory Coast, Jakarta, Indonesia, Yangon in Myanmar, Chittagong in Bangladesh are typical examples of this type of climate. A, small w or A, small s represent the tropical wet and dry of savanna climate. This type of climate is known as tropical savanna or grassland. Winter season in A, small w climate is usually dry, while summer season is dry in A, small s type of climate. The amount of precipitation in the driest month is less than 6 centimeters. The water balance remains in deficit during the dry season and surplus during the wet season. In terms of vegetation, tall grasses with scattered trees around are the common sight in this type of climate. Mumbai, India, Dhaka, Bangladesh, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, Darwin, Australia and Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam are typical examples of winter dry or A, small w type of climate, and Chennai, India is a typical example of summer dry, which is A, small s type of climate. B, dry, arid and semi-arid climate. This type of climate is characterized by scarcity of monsoon, of moisture. The potential evapotranspiration or the potent exceeds precipitation, which is the precip. The threshold values can be calculated in the following manner. If the annual precipitation is less than 50% of this threshold, the classification is B, small w, which is the arid, dry, desert climate. If it is in the range of 50 to 100% of the threshold, the classification is BS, which is the semi-arid or the steppe. Precipitation is less than half of the potent, BW, small h. This denotes the regions of low latitude hot deserts. Atmospheric conditions are hot and dry with an average annual temperature above 18 degrees Celsius. Khartoum in Sudan, Doha in Qatar, Death Valley in the United States are examples of this type of climate. BW, small k, these are the mid-latitude cold deserts. Atmospheric conditions are cold and dry with average annual temperature less than 18 degrees Celsius. Tarpan in China, Nukush in Uzbekistan are typical examples of this type of climate. These climates are characterized by precipitation more than half of the potent but not equal to it. As such, semi-arid conditions are characteristic features of these climates. There are two subdivisions of the semi-arid climates, B, S and small h. These are the semi-arid tropic steppe climates where average annual temperature is more than 18 degrees Celsius. These climates are usually found in the neighborhood of hot deserts. Lahore in Pakistan, Odisha in United States of America, Naimi in Niger are the examples of this type of climate. B, S, small k. This denotes the temperate steppe climates where average annual temperature is less than 18 degrees Celsius. These climates are usually found in the proximity of the cold deserts. Baku in Azerbaijan, Denver in the United States, Lhasa in China and Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia are the examples of this type of climate. There could be a fourth small letter to denote summer dry or winter dry with B group of climates also. C. This type of climate is characterized by mesothermal conditions in which average temperature of the coldest month averaging between 0 degrees Celsius and 18 degrees Celsius and at least 1 month averaging above 10 degrees Celsius. The subdivisions of the climate as under. C, small f, small a. These are wet subtropical climates. Precipitation occurs throughout the year. It is characterized by long and hot summer season. The average temperature of the hottest month is 22 degrees Celsius and above, at least 4 months averaging about 10 degrees Celsius. As compared to it, the winter season is shorter and temperatures do not reach the extreme. Buenos Aires, Argentina, Srinagar, India, Shanghai, China, Osaka, Japan are the examples of this type of climate. C. Small f, small b. It is a temperate marine climate with adequate precipitation in all the seasons. Summer season is usually warmer. However, temperature of the hottest month is less than 22 degrees Celsius. Coldest month averaging about 0 degrees Celsius. Winter season is marked with normal temperature conditions. Paris in France, Amsterdam, Netherlands, Port Elizabeth, South Africa and Melbourne in Australia are the examples of this type of climate. C. Small f, small c. This is a subpolar marine climate which is relatively cold in winter season. Summer season is short. The average temperature for a minimum of 4 months is around 10 degrees Celsius. No significant precipitation difference between the seasons. In Alaska, in the United States of America, Punta Arenas in Chile and Reykjavik in Iceland are the examples of this type of climate. C. Small s, small a. This type of climate is found in the interior areas of the Mediterranean Sea. Summer season is hot and dry, but winter season is normal and wet. Madrid, Spain, Dushanbe, Tajikistan, Perth, Australia, Beirut, Lebanon are the representative stations of the climate. C. Small s, small b. This type of climate is found in the coastal areas of Mediterranean Sea. It has short summer season which is dry and hot. The winter season is usually favorable as it receives rainfall. The average temperature of the hottest month is less than 22 degrees Celsius. Santiago in Chile, Cape Town in South Africa, San Francisco in the United States are representatives of this type of climate. C. Small w, small a. This is a subtropical monsoonal climate. Summer season is hot and wet temperatures rises to more than 22 degrees Celsius for at least 1 month. Winter season is normal and dry. Islamabad in Pakistan, New Delhi, India, Kathmandu, Nepal, Hong Kong are the representative stations of this type of climate. C. Small w, small b. It's a highland type of climate where temperature remains less than 22 degrees Celsius in the hottest month. Winter season is cold and dry while summer season is warm and wet. Now we move on to the next type, which is D. These are cold temperate climates. They are also called as microthermal, in which normal minimum temperature of the coldest month is less than -3 degrees Celsius while normal temperature of the warmest month is above 10 degrees Celsius. There are 8 subclasses of this group of climates. Together, these climates account for about 21% of the Earth's land surface. It equals to about 7% of the total surface area of the Earth. D. Small f, small a. This type of climate is located in the continental areas close to the polar front zone. The annual range of temperature is high and weather is highly variable. Summers are warm and winters are cold. Precipitation occurs in all the months. It is found in the central and the eastern parts of Eurasia between 40 to 55 degree north. New York City in United States of America, Almaty in Kazakhstan, Beijing, China and Seoul in South Korea are representatives of this type of climate. D. Small f, small b. This type of climate is found in Eastern Asia, China, Korea and Japan. More rainfall occurs in the summer season and there is a drier winter. The climate is generally found between 45 to 60 degree latitudes of north. Sapporo in Japan is a typical example of this type of climate. D. Small w, small a. This is a monsoonal influenced hot summer inclined continental climate. It is commonly found in the northeastern United States of America and southeastern Canada. Both coniferous and deciduous forests are found in this belt. The climate is characterized by moist continental with short period of summer dryness. Pyongyang, North Korea, Tianjin, China are the typical examples of this type of climate. D. Small w, small b. This type of climate is found along the oceanic margins of the continents in higher latitudes. It is wet climate with long, dry and severe cold winter season, short and cold summer season. Vladivostok, Russia and Pembina, United States are representative stations of this type of climate. D. Small w, small c. It is a subarctic climate characterized by long, cold and dry winter season. Summer season is short and mild. Moron, Mongolia and Yushu city in China are the typical examples of this type of climate. D. Small w, small d. This type of climate is found in the proximity of the subarctic region. It is characterized by long, dry and extreme cold winter seasons. Summer season is short and mild and warm. Yakutsk in Russia and Oymyakon in Russia are examples of this type of climate. D. Small s, small a. This type of climate exists only at higher elevations adjacent to the areas with hot summer Mediterranean, which is the C, small s, small a climates, and Kurdistan, Iran, Hakkari in Turkey are examples of this type of climate. D. Small s, small b. It is warm, dry summer continental climate. Temperatures recorded in the coldest month averaging less than 0 degrees Celsius, all months with average temperature less than 22 degrees Celsius and at least 4 months averaging more than 10 degrees Celsius. There is at least 3 times as much precipitation in the wettest month of the winter as in driest month of the summer. Sivas in Turkey, Roghun in Tajikistan, Dras in India and Bridgeport in California of United States are typical examples of this type of climate. D. Small s, small c. It is warm, dry summer subarctic climate. Temperature recorded in the coldest month averages between less than 0 degrees Celsius and 1 to 3 months averaging more than 10 degrees Celsius. There is at least 3 times as much precipitation in the wettest month of the winter as in driest month of the summer. Houma, Alaska, United States, Mount Olympus in Greece and Handud in Badakhshan province of Afghanistan are examples of this type of climate. D. Small s, small d. Places with this type of climate have severe winters with temperatures in their coldest month lower than minus 38 degrees Celsius. Saimachan in Magadan Oblast in Russia is a typical example of this type of climate. Now we move on to the next type of climate, which is E. This type of climate represents the polar and the alpine mountains. This type of climate has every month of the year with an average temperature below 10 degrees Celsius. E, capital T. It is a tundra type of climate. It is characterized by short summer season. The normal temperature of the warmest month ranges between 0 degrees Celsius to 10 degrees Celsius. Stanley in the Falkland Islands, Mount Wellington in Australia and La Rinconada in Peru are examples of this type of climate. E, capital T, small f. This is a polar climate. It experiences glaciations throughout the year and temperature remains below the freezing point. Mount Fuji in Japan, Nuuk in Greenland and Esperanza Base in Antarctica are examples of this type of climate. E, capital F. This type of climate occurs in the Antarctica and inner Greenland. It is also experienced in extremely high altitudes on the mountains. Temperatures never exceed 0 degrees Celsius. Mount Everest of Nepal, Mount Ararat in Turkey, Vostok Station in Antarctica and Summit Camp in Greenland are examples of this type of climate. It is well elaborated above about the different types of climate all over the globe. Their types and subtypes are very clearly dealt in numerous previous paragraphs. As explained above, the vegetation is very well correlated with annual average temperature and annual average precipitation. It is apt place to say a little about the outcome of temperature and precipitation in the form of vegetation. In very short, it is quite evident that the good amount of temperature as well as precipitation is prerequisite for proper growth of vegetation apart from other factors like soil types and fertility. Therefore, whenever higher annual average temperature is associated with good amount of precipitation, very dense vegetation type is seen like in the equatorial region. Higher temperature but lesser amount of precipitation results in hot deserts and semi-hot desert is found in association with less vegetation. Very low temperature is a retarding factor for the growth of vegetation. Whenever very low temperature is found, the vegetation growth is less and hence it is a cold desert. Intermediary conditions very clearly show the biotic life accordingly. Therefore, the climate types and the types of the biomes are very closely correlated. Some of the weaknesses of the Koppen's climatic classification are as under. Climatic elements such as air pressure, air masses, humidity, etc. have not been considered despite their effective role in the characterization of the climate. Mathematical calculations using computers could have offered more reliable results. Landforms play a decisive role in the distribution of vegetation and climatic characterization. Landforms have not been included in the scheme of climatic classification. Direction of wind and distribution of the water in the land bodies exercises considerable influence on the climatic conditions. The inclusion of these factors would have improved the climatic classification qualitatively. Aspects of climatic change and occurrence of extreme events deserve to have found some space in the classification because of its increasing consequences. Despite some of the weaknesses, Koppen's classification of climate is considered to be the most scientific as it is based on the empirical data and inductive approach. It is widely used classification of climate. It is easy to decode the climate type and understand its thermal, locational as well as seasonal characteristics. Koppen's classification is based on the empirical relationship between climate and the vegetation. The classification provides an efficient way to describe climatic conditions defined by precipitation and temperature and their seasonality. Climatic conditions identified through Koppen's scheme of classification are relevant both for plant as well as the animal life. Therefore, the Koppen scheme of classification is significant ecologically also. The classification is widely used to map long-term climate and associated ecological conditions. It is simple and easy to work out the type of climate if alphabetical codes are known. Similarly, if data on the temperature, precipitation and seasonality is available, it is easy to code the climate type. With increasing incidence of extreme climatic events, there has been an increasing interest in using the classification to identify changes in climate and potential changes in vegetation, animal and human life forms. The most useful significance of the Koppen's climate classification is that it helps to predict the dominant vegetation type based on the climatic data and vice versa. From different scientific reports, it has been established that more than 5% of all the land area worldwide has moved from wetter and colder classifications to drier